How Christians dehumanize people and why it's so dangerous. There are phrases you'll often hear in Christian spaces: wicked sinner, God hater, enemy of the cross, depraved, lost and blind. It might sound like biblical truth to some, but what if I told you this language doesn't just hurt, it dehumanizes? It rewires how we see people, and it's dangerous for them and for us. Let's start with the basics. Language creates reality. When Christians constantly refer to non-believers or even doubting believers as wicked, rebellious, or God-hating, it frames them as other, not just different, but morally inferior, less trustworthy, less human, less like us. And historically, that kind of language lays the groundwork for spiritual abuse, psychological harm, and even violence. It's not innocent, it's indoctrinating. So what does this language do to people? Psychologically, people raised in these environments internalize that they're disgusting to God by nature, not because of anything they've done, but just because they exist. This creates chronic shame, religious trauma, and identity confusion. Many people don't serve God out of love. They serve Him out of terror because they were told if they ever turn away, they're not just wrong, they're evil. This creates anxiety, hypervigilance, and even OCD-like religious scrupulosity. What is scrupulosity? You might be asking. Scrupulosity is a form of religious or moral obsessive-compulsive disorder. It involves obsessive fears about sinning, offending God, or not being pure enough, often combined with compulsive behaviors meant to ease the anxiety. People with scrupulosity might constantly confess sins that aren't objectively wrong, just in case. Pray repetitively or excessively, afraid it wasn't done right. Avoid communion or spiritual activities out of fear of doing them improperly. Live with intense guilt for thoughts or feelings they can't control. Feel like they're always on the verge of damnation, even when they're doing everything right. It's not just being a devout or conscientious believer. It's an anxiety disorder where fear is endless, and ultimately, some religious environments fuel it by constantly emphasizing judgment, sin, and divine punishment rather than love, grace, and trust. Once you believe someone is a wicked, God-hating sinner, it becomes easier to justify cruelty, whether it's rejecting your gay child, mocking someone's suffering, or just tuning out injustice because you think they deserve it. But it doesn't stop at psychology. It also affects our spiritual life, too. Dehumanizing others is a direct contradiction of Jesus' teachings. He didn't say, love your neighbor unless they're a wicked sinner. He said, love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. He touched lepers. He dined with outcasts. He forgave them from the cross. When Christians use language that strips people of dignity, they don't sound like Jesus. They sound like the Pharisees. So why is this dangerous? This isn't just about hurting feelings. This language has been used to justify slavery and colonization, excuse abuse within churches, dehumanize LGBTQ plus people, strip women of autonomy, dismiss victims of war and genocide as just godless nations getting what they deserve. If someone's humanity can be erased with a Bible verse, we've lost the gospel, because the gospel was never meant to be a weapon. It was meant to be healing. What should we do instead? What's the alternative? Stop labeling people with blanket terms. See them as humans, not projects, not enemies, not threats. Be curious about their stories. Listen without rehearsing a rebuttal. Speak love in a way that actually feels like love. And remember, Jesus never seemed too concerned about protecting religious dogma, but he was always protecting the dignity of the person in front of him. If you've been harmed by this kind of language, I see you. You are not wicked for simply existing, and you are probably not a God hater. Maybe you simply hate the religious hate. You're a human being, deserving of dignity, love, and compassion. And if you've used this language towards others, it's not too late to rethink it. Because every time we choose love over fear, connection over control, we get a little closer to what Jesus actually taught. This is Divine Dissident, where we question, we heal, and we grow. If this has resonated with you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And consider supporting the work I do by becoming a patron. Let's keep talking about what real love looks like.